is me on a typical day. This is how I show up in the world. So I want you to imagine that you are walking with me just on everyday, normal, routine life stuff. All right, so we're walking into a restaurant. I catch eyes with a lovely elderly lady. She stops, she looks me up and down, and then she says, "I like your hat." I say, thank you very much. All right, fast forward. We're at the Aldi. I've just finished my grocery shopping for the week. I'm coming back to put my cart back so I can get my quarter, and the guy comes and he says, "You know what? I like that thing on your head. Looks good on you." I say, thank you very much. Now, fast forward. We're at the African World Festival, a place that I go every year to get my jewelry hookup. And I'm walking around, I see a lady, and she looks at me and she says, "Girl, you are wearing that wrap. I wish I could wear my wrap up like you." I say, thank you very much. I appreciate that. And for me, it's been like this for several years. My wraps have garnered curiosity, awe, and respect. But as an anthropologist, I started to get very curious. Why is it that my wraps brought so much curiosity from others? What is it about this little piece of cloth on my head? Well, sometimes it's a big piece of cloth on my head. But why is it that this simple piece of cloth can emit and garner such a positive or sometimes weird response from others? And what about other people around the world? How many other groups look something like I do? And what about here in the United States? What is their lived experience? So for me, as an African-American Muslim from Detroit, Michigan, my experience with head wrapping has been positive since I was a young girl. I grew up around people that wrapped in beautiful and majestic ways. But for some others, the response has not always been the same. Take the Sikhs, for example, who make up some 500,000 population here in the United States. Hate crimes against them have risen astronomically. And for many Muslim women who choose to wear a khimar, or some say hijab, their wrapping has become synonymous with seemingly being oppressed. And for many Orthodox Jewish women who adhere to the practice of wrapping after marriage, for them, some have come into wrapping, but some have chosen to wear a wig for fear of discrimination. So what is it about this little piece of cloth on the head, and why does it bring about such a different response for different people? So today I want to take you on a journey into the world of head wrapping. Now, but before we talk about head wrapping, we have to talk about what it is that we're actually covering. So, what is this? Hair, right? Now for some people, it's just protein. It grows out of the head. It doesn't really hurt when you cut it. You can wear it purple, you can wear it blonde, you can wear it blue, you can be straight, it can be curly. You can either wear it long, or you can decide that you're going to shave it all off, right? And maybe even sing a song about it, like India Ari. You guys know, "I am not my hair." I can't sing, stay in my lane. So, for many people, hair is not that big of a deal. It's not that serious. But for others, hair is a much more powerful force. For many ancient cultures around the globe, including the Rastafarians, the Sikhs, and the Navajo, hair has a much more spiritual meaning, and there is power in uncut hair. So you will see people growing the hair long and seeing the hair as a spiritual antenna into the metaphysical world, into the unseen. So for this group of people, hair is not just something that you cut off. It is a spiritual force. So can we all agree that for many groups around the world, hair has a much more powerful meaning? So, now that we've looked at head wrapping or hair in some ways, I want to jump into the world of head wraps. And the way that I like to do this is I want you to imagine that you are on the best airline in the world, to me anyway, it's Qatar Airways. And you're in the first class seats. So we're going to go on a journey around the world and look at the global art of head wrapping. Now, buckle up, fasten your seatbelts, get relaxed, because it's going to be a beautiful ride. Okay, you guys ready? First destination. Now, this is the only time when you can stereotype. But when you look at me, geographically, when you think about head wraps, what area do you probably think about in the world? I'm guessing you're probably going to say Africa. So let's go over to Africa for a moment. And you have been luckily invited to a Nigerian wedding. So you're going to jump into this beautiful space. And when you come in, I can probably guess, if you've never been to a Nigerian wedding before, you're going to come in and your mouth is going to go like this. The awe, the beauty, the poise, the community that you see in this space is like no other. I call it the queen of all head wraps. It's the gele. It is a beautiful addition. It's an accessory. It is the finishing touch to a woman's outfit. And I'll never forget when I was talking to one of my friend's mother, and I was talking to her about head wrapping, and she said, you know what, Zarinah? If you don't have on the head tie, then your outfit, it is not complete. And I said, wow, it has that much power. It is truly the crown. Now, I want to take you to another part of the world. We're going to fly over to Morocco. So imagine that you're in the Sahara Desert. You're talking to a gentleman. He's talking to you about this turban, and he's saying that the wrap can be up to 10 meters. It can be white, it can be yellow, it can be blue, it can be green. And he says, you know, when a sandstorm comes, all I have to do is put it up, and I'm protected. I'm good to go. And I can attest, because I have now taken 3 groups of women over to Morocco, and we were in a sandstorm. And I did exactly what that brother told me to do. As soon as that sand started whipping, I said, we put it up, and we were good to go. So, for some people, head wrapping has a practical nature. And sometimes it can also be in unexpected ways. So I want to go now to Kyrgyzstan in Central Asia. And this on the screen here is a governor by the name of Kermanjan. And if you notice on her head, you will see a big white turban. It's about 30 meters of cloth. Every day when she would go out on a journey, she would have the idea in her mind that this might be her last day on earth. And this white cloth, if she were to not survive that journey, would become her shroud. And so when I started to hear more stories about the ways that head wrapping function in different societies, I said, man, this stuff is getting really, really deep. Can you imagine the psyche to wear on your head every single day what could become your own shroud? What does that do to you? So for many places, head wraps have just a practical or functional, and sometimes it's just woven into the everyday land. So like these 2 gentlemen in Tunisia, just enjoying the afternoon breeze. Or like Mali, or Vietnam with the Hmong. They're my new favorite people. I'm loving their style, and it's just so cute. So let's keep going around the world. Let's go to India, and then we're going to come to Europe. Because I know a lot of people, they used to say to me, Zarinah, you know, wrapping, that's a black people's thing, or a people of color thing. You know, you don't really find that in Europe. And I said, au contraire. When you look at the traditional clothing in that region, what do you see? Lo and behold, you see some wraps. So Bulgaria, the Czech Republic, Italy, Turkey, and here we're going to come to our last stop. So where are you now? You may say Iraq, you may say the Middle East, but you're in Dearborn. So this is Imam Elahi of the Islamic House of Wisdom, and his turban denotes that he is a Muslim Islamic scholar, right? So people rap for all kinds of reasons. And I studied and learned that for me, head wrapping really taught me more about how to be human. When I looked at the spiritual ways that people rap, I learned more about God. When I looked at the cultural ways that people rap, I learned more about identity and family and belonging. So I decided that I was going to start sharing my love of head wrapping with other people. And I started doing these impromptu little tutorials in the aisles of the grocery stores and in the restaurants, in the bathrooms of restaurants when someone would ask me or compliment me. And then it started going into workshops like this and festivals. So these were some young girls that were trying head wrapping for the first time. But as a facilitator, I learned that through raps, I could touch on every type of subject, from geography to art, and even to sensitive subjects like cultural appropriation and biases. Later, I decided that I was going to publish a calendar. I wanted to kind of come into the physical spaces of places, see how people would react to these images that I was starting to fall in love with. So I published a calendar called Beautifully Wrapped, and it took off. It became a global movement. That calendar turned into an exhibition, and this exhibition won a grant from the Knight Foundation, and literally now thousands of people have been able to be exposed to the global art of head wrapping, and by extension, into their lived experience. So for me, this is all majorly cool. To be able to share something that I did not technically go to school for, but share this out with the world and see what the response is absolutely humbling. So from there, I said, okay, what else can we do? We have the calendar, what else could we do? And so what we decided was that I was going to found an event. I was going to bring all of these different head wrapping communities into one space. And so it became the Headwrap Expo. And the Headwrap Expo brought all of these different communities who have their own unique lived experiences, but oftentimes live in completely different communities. And so they don't often get a chance to actually communicate. So this is one of our panels. Here represented in this photo, you have 4 different groups. In the orange, you have Sister Captain Missy from the Nation of Islam. You have Namira, who is a Bengali Sunni Muslim. You have Sister Nancy, who is a Franciscan nun. And then you have Andrea Greenberg, who is an Orthodox Jew. 4 very different communities. Then I decided to bring in the Bulgarian and the Romanian community. We brought in the Nigerian, various tribes from Nigeria. And my Muslim community showed up in droves as well. So I invited many of our small local designers who have been sewing in their homes, and we brought them to the forefront and gave them a stage to showcase their style. Now, from the Muslim community, we decided that we weren't just going to focus on what everybody else focuses on, right? Hijab, like that's it. That's all you hear about when you think about covering within the Muslim community. But I decided to include the men. And the men came and talked about wrapping from their perspective and what their lived experience was as well. Now, for the Sikh population, I said, hey, could you come and educate our audience? Could you tell us more about the turban? And what they told us was that the turban was not just a wrap. It was a symbol for equality. They talked to us about how when Sikhism was founded in India, that only the elite wore turbans. And so to adopt wearing a turban and to make it a prescription for all of the Sikhs meant that they were making a visual marker for equality for all. They were letting it be known without opening their mouth that they were not about that caste life stuff. They were all for equality. And I found this quite interesting because here in the United States, we had this thing called the Teon laws down in Louisiana, where the governor was kind of getting a little bit antsy because with all of these free Creole women, the lines of privilege were starting to get blurry. So he wanted to have a visual marker, not of equality, but of inequality. And so the women there were required to wear a scarf. Now, through my work, I found that bringing all of these different groups together, we were able to have very great, deep, meaningful conversations. And through this, by extension, people's minds were open to new ways of living and new ways of being. So I realized how starved we are for true opportunities to learn about one another in affirming environments. So for me, I hope to look at other cross-cultural phenomena. I want to put out more publications and events, and maybe even do a deeper study into the neurological changes that happen from wrapping. Because what I have learned now from Kundalini and other meditation specialists is that head wrapping can realign those tiny the tiny bones in your skull. And if you're wearing a turban, it literally helps you to keep your head together. So head wrapping may seem like a weird tool to use for global love and understanding. But then again, every one of us has to use whatever is at our disposal. So this is one of my tools to make the world a better place. The better question is, what's yours?